Welcome back to The Edge. Holy jumbled titles, Batman. What is Google doing? Google's Search Console also has cross-language results, and timestamp previews and translated captions are coming to YouTube. You're listening to News from The Edge for the week of August 23rd, 2021, or whatever Google thinks the title should be, here on Edge of the Web Radio.
From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
I don't know how many titles we're going to have before this thing gets published. You know, it's happening hourly now. This is Edge of the Web Radio. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks from Site Strategics. Every week we bring you amazing guests to chat with about trending digital marketing topics. And every week we're also covering SEO and digital marketing news, separate from our weekly guest interview. So check that show out on a weekly basis, but we're dropping this news show, as early as possible in the week so you can use it for your digital marketing steerage. Be sure to check out all the videos and much more over at edgeofthewebradio.com. edgeofthewebradio.com. Welcome to the Site Strategics Digital Marketing News Desk of Edge of the Web. Joining me to get his take on the news is Morty Oberstein, Head of Communications at SEMrush. Morty, who else do we have on the show today?
I'm taking Captain's chair again for a second.
No. I just thought you'd like to introduce her.
Sure. Who
Really?
is it?
Oh my gosh.
Who?
He didn't get the memo.
What?
He didn't get
Where?
the memo. What?
It's Lily Ray, everybody.
Will you mute him? God. Lily Ray's on the show. Lily, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you all for having me.
You're more
You
than
see my
welcome.
little celebration emoji here? Oh, no.
No,
Zoom lets you do celebration emojis. I like to use those these days.
We'll fix it in post.
Nice.
Well, we reached out to Lily because there's a hot mess happening right now in the SEO world, and we wanted to run with this article first and foremost. Tell you what, Lily, this is intense, and we wanted to jump right into it. Is Google showing different organic titles in August 2021? You just rolled out that article here. I think it was Sunday. Was it Sunday or Saturday?
Yesterday. Sunday.
Yeah, and it's a great take on what's happening. We are seeing Google changing the SERP titles on pages radically. So, and there's been a huge tumult inside of social media where people were challenging for a heck of a long time last week. It started around the 18th of August, that this was not a new thing, that this was something that Google was doing regularly. We're going to get into that a little bit deeper in your article, but what's first blush here? What the heck is going on, Lily? What's happening on these SERPs?
So I feel a little bit vindicated because I wrote an article when I was 23 called Google's Ignoring Your Title Tags and Meta Descriptions, and it's just going to write whatever it wants anyway, which
Right.
I feel like I should preface this conversation with that, because this is certainly not new. A lot of people were very clear that these are tests and everything that have been done by Google over the course of the years. So just putting that out there first and foremost, but Google is clearly ramping up how frequently it overwrites the title tag that you provide in the search results.
Right.
So much in the same way that meta descriptions are generally, the majority of them are overwritten these days by Google. I think it's like 60 or 70%.
Yep.
As of the past 10 days, we've seen a massive shift in what Google is choosing to display in the title, and it's causing a lot of malformed or inaccurate titles as a result.
So it's getting that data from somewhere, and it's pulling it from, in your article, it's pulling it from headlines, deeper headlines, paragraph information, anchor text that's actually linking across. And we're seeing headlines that are titles that are literally the slug of the page being displayed in the SERP. So that's wrong. For once, but this obviously was not the intention of the publishers of their content to have this type of usurpation, if that's a phrase. I think it is. I'm gonna run with it, and actually having Google place whatever it actually thinks would be the most appropriate title. That's a pretty big stretch there, right?
Yeah, I think conceptually it makes sense to overwrite a title when the title is not meeting user intent, when it's inaccurate, when it's not optimized. I think there's certain use cases where this makes a lot of sense. I also think it's fair game for Google to choose an H1 tag in some cases. Like that should also be user facing and optimized. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense in some cases. They use H1 tags for Google News and Discover and other features. But to like make a title out of content that they found not in a title and not in a headline is really problematic to me. And it's obviously already resulting in unintended consequences.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of examples out there, and social media or Twitter's rife with comparisons and before and afters, or what have you. You give a number of these examples in your article here. For example, before on August 13th, Bill Gates dash Forbes. Jacob, you can pull that up for us. It'd be great. And then after the change here for the number 4, Bill Gates dash Forbes, which he's the 4th richest person in the world, and nobody would understand the context of having a number 4 next to Bill Gates. You had another one, Donald Trump tweets, where it read, where to read Donald Trump's tweets that are now closed. The title now has where to read Donald Trump's tweets now that Twitter has -quartz. This is from QZ.com. So the intent's lost on that particular SERP title. You also have other issues around. One in particular that I wanted to pull up was the faux leather jackets for women. Before this change, it had faux leather jackets for women and faux leather leggings at Lula's. Now the title says vegan leather Lula's. Now, without even knowing if there's any reference to vegan in that page, let alone other pages, that's a big jump of faux leather to vegan. Now we know that there's some equivocation out there that these are synonyms in one way, shape, or form, but actually having Google write vegan on your title, right? That could constitute a little bit of controversy depending on the publisher, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting example because, so for one, the title that you provide in the HTML is still being used for ranking, which I think is the most important thing for SEOs to understand. Like, we don't need to change how we optimize titles and including important keywords in titles, but there's another benefit to titles being displayed as they are in the search results, which is that if the user typed faux leather jackets, they are looking for title tags that say faux leather jackets.
Absolutely.
That's fundamentally why title tags exist and why SEOs are so focused on them. It's not just rankings, it's because it improves click-through rates and user experience. So like, I have to double check if the vegan leather is actually being pulled from an H1 tag, in which case, again, it's fair game. Like maybe they choose to use both keywords, but that was a really big, well-optimized title tag with a lot of context and a lot of important keywords that Google just decided to use this shorter one that doesn't actually match the user's query, the search query.
Right.
So in those cases, it's like not fair. Like, why are we spending so much time providing this important, relevant information in the field that we know historically has been used for that purpose?
Yep.
If you're just going to choose something else, it's not even a good fit.
No, you're absolutely all right. And Mort, I'll give you a chance here in a second. I just want to inject one more thing here is that you mentioned that it's not only for SEO, but it's also for click traffic, be able to connect with intent. Well, click-through rates are absolutely going to be affected if my query is not represented in that title. This is a UX environment. This is advertising. The title and the content that you can craft around and be able to get positioned on that SERP is part of the attraction that you're trying to create to that website. And if all of a sudden Google's actually getting in between you and the user so much that it's deciding what it thinks is actually going to be a better reference of your content, it's really deciding how much traffic you're going to have with that adjustment. All right, Morty, what do you think about this?
I think it sucks. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I think the click-through rate thing is really important. There are definitely titles that I write, H1s that I write, where I just use them for the title tag. But there are definitely titles that I write where I know that I can go a little bit of a different style with them because I know that the title tag is going to be more centered on search language versus actual language that you would expect to see at the top of a post or top of a page. In other words, what users are expecting on the SERP is different than what they're expecting to see as a header of an article at times. In other words, the way people search is it's almost like its own unique kind of vernacular, its own kind of language. There are actually studies about this that go through the unique ways of language, using a language when you search for things. If the SERP is a certain type of environment and the content on it exists in a certain type of ecosystem that's unique linguistically, I don't understand how across the board it makes sense to show the H1.
Right.
It just doesn't make, the whole purpose is different. The purpose when I have a title on or a header on a page is purely to inform the reader. I mean, it should be. When I write the title tag, I understand that forget ranking. I understand that I'm trying to entice a click. It's a totally different purpose of writing. And I don't understand how the hell it makes sense across the board to do this. Clearly it doesn't by looking at the results. And I'm not even sure I understand how badly Google just fumbled this. I mean, they're just showing absolute garbage. It doesn't make, that's what I can't wrap my head around. Why was this rollout so bad? And what are they even trying to do here? What was the problem they're trying to fix?
Right. Well, I mean, there's the rant. Are they trying to actually intercept and actually evaluate content? Lily, have you been looking at any data kind of in context that the faux leather searches by and large of the top 10 or top 20 that are actually ranking on that is that a uniform change, or are you seeing individuals that are changing in that top 20, which would be even more of a concern? What are you seeing there in these collections or these packs?
Yeah, honestly, it's really hard to do this analysis. I'm mostly using visual cues from tools that do screenshotting of search results, so you can't really compare the change that easily. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to do that. I don't think that the title overwrite was like done on a category level or done on a website level or anything. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly when they're doing it, but it does seem to be the case for a lot of e-commerce retailers. They decided to use H1 tags. For a lot of news publishers, they've been using H1 tags. Things where the title tag is a little bit too crammed with keywords, especially the main keyword in the beginning, they seem to be overwriting that. And then there's a lot of also like with e-commerce sites or news publisher sites, if the titles were too short, they're pulling in like a breadcrumb or a subcategory in the middle. So it's like dash subcategory name dash brand. Got it. Which is how you should be writing titles in the first place, generally speaking. But so it's like, to Morty's point, I think the intention was okay, maybe for sites that are not well optimized or too keyword spammy in their title tags, but there's so much like just unintentional noise and chaos that they've created with this update. So it really wasn't ready.
Let alone the reaction of SEOs. You want to speak to that briefly? Just seeing the hot mess that's out there, because there was also this counterpunch of, hey, this isn't new. This is what Google's been doing the entire time, and we're gonna call right here, guys. This is new. This is pretty dramatic. Lily, what are your thoughts on this?
So the analogy I used was, a lot of people say, hey, there was an earthquake in my city. And then everybody else in the world is like, that's not new. There's always been earthquakes. That's like basically what the debate was last week. But yes, of course, it's not new that Google has changed title tags dynamically. We all know that. They add brand names to the end of things. They remove brand names from the front, like all kinds of different things that they've done. But those have largely been unnoticeable, or they make sense, that's been the case for a long time. I think they've done a good job with that. This was a major overwrite that went haywire, and it happened on August 17th. So that is new. I think that this was massive. I don't know, maybe the data providers will show us what this actually looked like, but working on it. So of course the concept isn't new, but this update was very much new.
Even to the degree that there was an example that you had that was bounced around all over the place. It was from the White House itself, and the title tag was actually displaying President Joe Biden as Vice President Joe Biden, probably getting pulled from an archive of content inside of the site. So it's not only on page that we're talking about, we're also talking about crosslinks, interlinks across the entire site. You have that possibility to be able to display, Jacob. I mean, look at that. Literally, this is live, and it's still showing Vice President Joe Biden, right?
So bad.
Every conspiracy theorist on the right wing just went like, thumbs up.
Well, they fixed this on Friday,
Yeah,
and then now
yeah.
it's broken again.
Exactly.
So they're clearly tweaking things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you just see the Google is over there just plugging wires together. I thought we had this. It's obviously a hot mess right now, and you can't really steer.
Did you see the one from Brody where they're taking like a category level page for a person? I forgot, it was like some politician.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just pulling that as a title tag for everything about him, basically.
Oh my, no!
It's
a
in his
lawsuit
blog
waiting to
post.
happen. It's not good.
No, it's not. But you did get some counsel out there, and you just tweeted here, Lily, that they should not be steering by this. The fact of the matter, if your SERP is actually changing, if your title is changing on the SERP, that does not mean that your title's not affecting SEO. And if you're trying to actually start radically reorganizing your titles to try to either match the query or try to adjust, stop. Do not touch anything right now, because we don't even know what we're looking at, right?
Yeah. I will caveat my tweet that I just tweeted, which you just cited. If you have H1 tags that are structurally like Amazon, for example, their H1 tags are results 1 through 500 of men's shoes. Right. So like now Google's pulling that in. Maybe if you're Amazon and all of your H1 tags always start with pagination, like maybe you want to tweak that now while we're in the midst of this chaos.
Oh my gosh, that's the other thing, is that how many sites roll out headlines as some standard Chrome on the right hand side or footer.
Oh
links.
God!
I mean, we see that all the time. All of a sudden, all of those are going to boil up to, hey, read more here type of crap. I mean, it's all.
I didn't even think about that.
It's going to boil up to the top of the. Oh my God, we're all going to rank for read more. Or
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. If you have your H1 set like in the wrong place or on a template or whatever, that's pretty risky.
That's what Amazon's doing.
Wait. Forever, John Mueller has said having multiple H1s is not a problem.
Really, I beg to differ. Wow. So anyway,
wait, so I'm gonna tweet. Hold on. I'm gonna tweet right now. Is having multiple H1s still a problem?
I think so.
Love it.
Well, the one thing, the last thing I wanted to actually reference here, we're clearly not seeing any outside influence on an anchor or on a SERP, right? It's still all inside the site, inside the page, and the limitations, kind of concentric circles. It's still, if there's anchor text, it's still on the page. We're not seeing any type of inbound influence on these titles, right?
Not that I've seen any evidence of. There's been a couple titles that I saw. I mean, the vice president one, for example, I didn't check the page very thoroughly, but I don't know that page says anywhere that Joe Biden is vice president. No. So maybe it's somewhere else on the site.
Yeah. I'm assuming like an archive or something like that. But go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. No, and then there's some other examples with clients of ours where I've seen them pull in something a little bit deeper on the page, like they've made sense of the context and kind of answered the question in the title tag, which I don't love, but I haven't seen any evidence of external signals. Maybe others have. But.
You enumerated briefly, you went through a number of breakdowns here, the titles being replaced by H1s and H tags, adding subcategory and breadcrumbs, removing ellipses and truncated titles, adding numbers or dates in the beginning of titles. Of course, this is all what we intended on our titles, right? Replacing pipes and dashes. We're seeing just a cluster mess of these things that don't really make sense unless you actually start separating them with pipes. Leveraging image alt text as well of the file names cropping up into titles. Google likely unintentionally also adding superscripts and other punctuation found alongside headlines into titles, and possibly inserting and modifying titles based on the information found elsewhere on the page like you're talking about. Hopefully it's not being influenced by external. I mean, we have other case studies here at the shop, but we've seen that type of SEO bowling years ago that would essentially sabotage an entire site with a negative title, and Google was responding to the influence of the anchor text. God forbid that happens.
So bad. That's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah. Well, Lily, thank you for your contribution here, and keep up the good fight here. Tell everybody that it's new, and you should feel vindicated because it is freaking
new.
We got an earthquake, people. All right. Well, you're on time schedule,
Get
Lily.
a trophy.
You get a
Awesome. Well, thank you all for having me.
Absolutely. We'll look to see you later, but we'll cut you loose here. Thanks so much, Lily.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. So just wanted to spend that amount of time because this is a thing, guys. You need to pay attention to it. Second article that we want to catch real quick, over from Barry Swartz at Search Engine Roundtable. Cross-language results on Google Search Console. There's a performance filter that you can actually check out. Google has what appears to be a new filter in GSC Performance Report named Cross-Language Filter. He's never seen this filter, but he also excuses if it is not new. But he suspects that it's related to Google Search. If Google Search will take other languages, translate them for you, and include them in the search results. So basically, his reference was if you're actually looking at this and seeing whether or not you have the ability to be translated, if you have representative content on your site that's also translated for international SEO. I know you guys are going to be talking about that soon, or on SEO Chat. But did you take this article, Marty? Did you check it out? Have a look at it?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to seeing that. I think it ties into our next article pretty well, actually.
Wow, what a segment change. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, before anything, just want to make sure that we thank their sponsors, and the sponsor is Site Strategics. I want to make sure that you know who we are. We're constantly focused on agile digital marketing changes. Our core specialties are technical SEO, including Core Web Vitals, SEM, social media conversion, optimization, results-based marketing that actually works. So check us out. Give us a call. Happy to talk to you for a free consultation hour, 877-SEO for web or 877-736-4932. Now to the other, I had to get the sponsor in there. Sorry. All right. So check this out. Our third article. Go ahead. Launch into that puppy.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's with you today?
I don't know. I have to
give it everybody. This is your job.
Yeah.
YouTube ads, video chapter previews, auto translate captions in new search functions from Caroline and over at Search Engine Land.
Oh my gosh.
He's like a carnival barker. I can't see it.
All right, let me do it the right way here. YouTube ads, video capture previews, auto translates captions in its new search functions. See how easy it is?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mm-hmm. To make searching for videos on YouTube easier, the company announced 2 new updates on Tuesday to the way it's actually on-site search functions actually operate. They got a timestamp preview with autoplay snippets added to mobile and auto-translated captions in different languages. So tell me about this guy. If we're talking about auto-translate, you better believe it syncs up exactly with what you're just talking about.
Yeah, we're being very efficient because we went really long in the last one. So now we're being efficient with the last 2. Check that out. I'm also looking at what John Mueller answered me back because I did tweet him. Oh boy, I'm in trouble.
Oh no, I got to see this. So we've got auto translation and capturing now. We've had auto captures before, but it's now auto translating.
What
could possibly go wrong there?
Wild, right? That's wild. Which, by the way, ties into what you saw before, the Search Console filter, right? Where you're getting your content was translated into another language, and here you got the impressions from that. What a coincidence! Now you have this. What a coincidence! This is part of what Mom was intended to do, was to offer content from one market to another market and translate it automatically. So if you're in a market, I would imagine this would not be. If your primary market is the English market, there's generally going to be plenty of content.
Right.
I would imagine that if you're in a market where there is I wouldn't call it a shorter, but less content than Google would like, and there are gaps to fill, that Google will translate content from English, let's say, into, I don't know, Swahili, and then show that up in either the search results or your YouTube feed now.
I think you've used Swahili as another you've done that a couple times on this show as the go-to translation language.
It's just when you're a kid. You know what it was?
What's that?
It was from, I think, like Ducktales.
Yeah.
They always talked about Swahili or something like that. You're right. See?
Actually. Wow.
I am right about that. I just pulled that as deep from the depths of the 1980s and early 90s. Ducktales. But it's crazy.
Can you imagine
if they can
Little Morty watching DuckTales.
Absolutely. He probably had a beard then too.
Oh,
I was a lovely child.
No, yeah, all right. So article-wise, you're absolutely right. So
article-wise, it's they're both the same thing. I think it's part of a larger trend that you're seeing Google trying to fill content gaps by auto-translating content. Clearly, it feels more capable of doing that.
Mm-hmm. But my question to you here is, again, kind of the holistic message of the show today. We've got Google deciding what content is being displayed for your own pages. The titles that are one of the key navigational points for SEOs. What you're trying to get across to a user is now going to be re-articulated based on Google's desire or whatever they think is best. Now they also have the ability to auto-translate. Now you have to turn that feature on, obviously. They're not just taking that over, but you're trusting Google to actually translate correctly. And we all know that translation, the interpretation of translation can often be not on the mark, right?
That's where it's hard. Google Translate I use it all the time.
Yeah.
Because I don't speak the language where I live half the time. It is wonderful. It is not perfect.
Absolutely.
Would you tell, if you're doing international SEO, would you recommend just throw the content through Google Translate and post it on the page?
If you want to piss people off, yeah.
No, that'd be terrible. That'd be a really bad idea.
No, I mean, it's halfway, and I think it's accepted that it gets you 75% of the way there. There's everything that has to do with colloquialisms and emphasis, and there's a number of things that you just can't get across in text, let alone an automatic translator, and that's kind of an accepted norm. But you got to be careful about what's coming across on these videos, and you may very well want to have that auto translation interpreted. You know, is there any way to be able to make adjustments after it auto translates, or it's just doing it and you don't have any management over it?
It's auto translating. I mean, you don't even see it when it shows up.
Got it. Yeah.
I would assume no one's seen this yet, so we don't know.
Got it. Well, the cool thing I saw in that story was the chapters and the timestamps that you can actually roll through. So we're going to start.
Yeah, I rolled right past that.
We're going to. Well, you went for the money there. I mean that was pretty intense stuff here. But they also have a timestamp feature where, for example, each and every one of the articles that we roll out, we're going to have our timestamp, so you can actually zip right to that article. But I got a problem with that as well, is that if you're putting up content and you're working hard to get all this content out there, and you just give the utility of, all right, just zip to the thing that you're interested in, right? Then, it's kind of taking the publisher out of the equation, and there's no context, there's no build-up, and you can actually lose.
That's always the problem.
Yep.
Right. On the one hand, let's take it's what it's similar to, the jump to the scroll to text feature snippets with the highlight.
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
absolutely. Very similar.
It is.
Right. So you Google, what is Aaron Sparks? You get some website. Aaron
Sparks?
I'm Ron Burgundy. And
who the hell?
And I think I say that in every show now. I think every show I'm going to work in what's Ron Burgundy. And it scrolls you past all of that content.
Yep.
It might be. I find it useful sometimes. It's really good as a user, but as a publisher, it kind of stinks. You're losing there. Even if they're just skimming your content, they get a sense of your authority and the scope of your work, right. And they see how long it is and how wonderful it is and what wonderful images you have. The same thing with the video. They're scrolling right past it.
Yep.
All of those great points you made and imagery you used.
It's all out of context. That reminds me of, as a sidebar, I've come across this advertisement on Sirius Radio. It's called Blinkist. Blinkist is this kind of Cliff Notes, nonfiction, quick nugget of information that you can actually, in 15 minutes, read an entire book. All right, so are we that ADD that we cannot read a book, and we literally as a society see the value of just getting to the summation of what they're talking about, to be able to pull out a couple facts and figures, to be able to make yourself look smart? You've not read the nonfiction book. You've not actually taken the time to fully digest it. I'm sorry, I'm showing my age here, but...
No, I feel you. I mean, look, if Corona has taught us one thing...
Right.
One thing only is that society is very stupid. So
I've heard
So
there
the
are people
answer is yes.
Googling these days if humans can lay eggs.
Right. So my employer, Semrush, put out a tweet showing that the keyword "can people lay eggs" has a search volume of 390 or something like that.
Lord.
I think it's kids or people trying to teach their kids, but Jacob has an argument with me. Thinks no.
I argue that my kids knew the answer to that before they knew how to type.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Well,
but like if you want,
with everything else,
I don't know.
If
Like,
you're
maybe
relying
you
on,
want to show I don't know.
I highly recommend that all listeners of this podcast, all viewers of this YouTube video, go Google right now. Can people lay eggs? Just to ramp those numbers up. I think
do
it'll be
it.
fun.
Do it now. We'll wait.
Back to the original point. Then yeah, I think it's a general problem. You want to take the conversation there. I think it's a general problem with content consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Google's stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't know what it's going to do. If you want to talk, larger dynamic ecosystem kind of problems where people do want that really quick content.
Yep.
And the problem is that you do lack a sense of detail and nuance with that really quick content, so that you end up walking away with, let's call it, less than a full picture.
Yep.
And what's Google supposed to do? It's what people want, but it's not really what's good for them, or they're not going to do it anyway. And it's a serious problem because not everything can be consumed in 3 seconds.
No, and things are intentionally needing to be consumed over a longer duration.
There's no the abridged version to Aristotle in 3 seconds.
Exactly. All right. Anyway, that's
a larger ecosystem problem. I don't know what they do about that.
I don't know. And I mean,
I know what they do. They do it anyway because how they get their ad clicks.
See, takes me back to Max Headroom, where they had blipverts that would literally subliminal ads that went so quick they'd explode your head. Is that where we're going as a society?
Basically.
Well,
One
I don't
can
know.
only hope.
One can only
Aren't you
hope.
on social media? You see what's out there
Actually, let's turn to hashtag SEO Chat to be able to
on social media.
Have some sense of sanity and balance every Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Who's leading the charge this week, Morty?
JP Sherman is hosting SEO Chat this week. We're talking about site search, which
Sweet.
I don't know why we care about that. Once they're on your site, what do you care what they're doing on it? You're an SEO.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Okay, fine.
I'm just kidding.
See, he baited me there, didn't he? All right. Well, we certainly appreciate your contribution. We certainly appreciate Lily's contribution. Watch this topic, everyone, because it's popping everywhere. Watch your own SERPs. And Morty, how do we actually see our titles change? Are there tools out there that we can actually see title reductions or title changes from a historical standpoint that you know?
Absolutely. I know of this tool. It's called SEMrush.
Oh, see, that was just like a softball.
I mean, what do you want me to do?
Marketers got to market. All right.
Yeah, check out there's a whole suite of keyword research. We're known a little bit for our keyword research tools.
Yeah, you are.
You might have heard about us in terms of keyword research. You can type in a keyword, you can get results back, and if you look at the overview tool, you can see the SERP, and you can look at the top 10 results.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see the title tags that are pulled in there.
Yep.
You can go back to July.
Okay.
Or we're in August, obviously I'm saying July, but you can go back to February. You can go back to November 2020 and see what was ranking there. And if the same websites are ranking there, you can see if the title tags are different.
There you go. So do a little bit of compare and contrast to be able to see and we know things have been changing, but not this radically. So pay attention to your own titles, folks. There may be some noise that is maybe pushing a little bit of user traffic away. Who knows? God forbid that it gets worse. I'm sure they'll fix it. It'll be fine. They're
going to have, this is ridiculous what it is now.
All right, for everybody who's listening, want to make sure that you know that yours truly is going to be on Jason Barnard's live podcast at 11 Eastern tomorrow. So join us live as we talk about what we do over here and do a lot of different media production and curation, and why marketing agencies should be media producers as well. So check that out over here at Edge. We are also going to have the second part of the Christina Azarenko podcast, so listen to that. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on our YouTube channel, because that gets the algorithm going. And we were live last week, and who knows, we may come up live here in the near future. So any final thoughts, Morty, for our SEO audience that's freaking out about their titles?
It's they're gonna have to fix it. Just chill out. They're gonna have to fix it.
Can we use that as just like an audio clip right there?
Could you imagine they didn't fix it? Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. There would be.
It would be as bad as Bing.
Ooh.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I know you didn't. All right. From all of us over Edge, stay safe, stay well. Hey, and don't be a piece of cyber driftwood, right, Morty?
Right.
Don't
do drugs.
Don't do drugs, kids. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.